All right, y'all, I've gotten so many messages about the chronic pain stuff that I was explaining a couple weeks ago about Logan and his hip. And literally, there's like courses on this and pain science. It's so deep, it's so in depth that I could never do it justice. But so the homunculus is the area where that's kind of where all of your body parts are like, it's so hard to describe. Basically, so I'll have to pull up a picture and like put it up here or something. You can see different areas are kind of devoted to different regions of your body. When you have chronic pain for so long, it's hard to distinguish where the source of the pain is coming from. Meaning, like before, you might have been able to say, oh, it's right here in my shoulder. But when you have chronic pain for so long, when someone asks you, where's the pain? You're like, you can't quite find it anymore. So we call this cortical smudging, and this just means that basically, like literally that picture of the homunculus, if you were to just like smudge it in certain areas, it's like almost like you can't quite discern the very specific area. So, pain, motor control, motor function, all that stuff, it's controlled by our brain. So there is a central nervous system component to pain. And someone sent me a message saying, oh, you told your husband it was all in his head. No, that's not what I told him. What I told him was to assess the situation. When it's something that you need to be fearful of, you need to respond appropriately. But what he was doing is he was responding like non-appropriately. Like it was like the smallest amount of stimulus that wouldn't cause any problem or a threat, and his body was like freaking out, right? And he was like wailing and screaming. And so I have him assess the situation, figure out, is this a threat? And then, if it's not a threat, which it hasn't been a threat, nothing has been inherently dangerous about the situation, then he just is like, okay, there's nothing inherently wrong. I'm not in danger right now. And then he like uses some parasympathetic tools, and we've tried several different ones. So breathing, just taking a couple of deep breaths. Also just doing smaller ranges of motion, just like, kind of like testing the waters, do a little bit. Okay, it feels okay. Do a little bit more, and like watching it. So visual feedback has been really helpful for him. Also, we've tried different like vibration techniques. Sometimes that alters like your pain sensation, which is why these like vibration tools are so great, but it's only temporary, right? Until you can like really control the underlying component, it's always going to return. So it's all about kind of fixing the underlying problem. And so a couple of my students, a couple months ago now, they did like a whole in-service for us on chronic pain. And to be completely honest, like I treat pain every single day. Do I understand it fully? No, because pain is so complex and it's so multifactorial, and it's biopsychosocial. So it means like your biology is affected by it, like your brain, like the psychological component of it, and then also social, like so your narratives and your belief systems and the biases that you have and what people tell you all feed into what your perception of pain is and how you handle painful situations and stimuli. So they were kind of like showing us that there's this app, like you can do lateralization, and so basically it shows you like pictures of like your left versus your right hand, and you have to quickly identify, is this my left or my right hand? So it's just drawing your attention to it and bringing awareness to, this is my right side, this is my left side. So then you just can reprogram your brain. And then there's also something that you can do that they taught us called like the 9 grid. And it's basically like, so if you're having shoulder pain, you would take a picture of your shoulder, okay? And how there's like the grids in the phone. You would basically have like just your shoulder, nothing else in that. And you would label each grid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then you would be holding the picture on your phone, which has all the numbers on it. And someone would like point to an area, and you'd have to identify, okay, that's in the first grid box, 1, 2, so you're being able to really start to specify which area of the shoulder am I feeling. So then you can learn how to become more specific with your responses and like just be a little bit better at discerning the exact location of pain. And then over time, you take that picture and you make it like more zoomed in, so you get even more specific. And this has been really helpful. So those are just like a couple different like techniques that people do and people use, and that's been helpful for Logan too. He's done the lateralization. We found some free ones. I actually have a hard time doing that. So sometimes it has like people's like feet and they're facing like this direction or that direction. Like I treat people all day long. I like see their bodies, and you know, sometimes it's when they lay on their stomach and you were like, okay, it's your left side, and then they flip on their stomach and now it's on the other side that you were just standing on. It takes me a second, you know, like everyone, but like it took me quite a while for the feet and like figuring out like which direction the big toe was. And anyways, if you want to play around with some of those apps, they're just like lateralization apps, and it's just interesting. Maybe, you know, because I have an Achilles injury or had one, you know, previously, maybe I also have a little bit of cortical smudging. So I think that we all have a little bit. It doesn't mean you're damaged, and it also doesn't mean it can't be fixed, and it's irreversible, because it can. Anyway, there are so many different areas or parts of the brain that have a pain area or pain response, or that can control pain or have a hand in controlling pain. Emotional response to pain, like sensory, just everything, behavioral, protective. There's like just so many different areas, right? And you know, obviously Logan had a stroke, so he had a stroke to the thalamus, and the thalamus is the main like processing center for pain. It's like one of the main players. So maybe that has something to do with, like, he never was like this before. So we found kind of what works for him. It's not to say that's going to work for you or work for everybody. There's just so many different things that could help. So don't lose hope. You got this. If you have any questions, that was a really rough overview. You could dive so deep into this and like go through the weeds, but you know, most of the people that follow me are not doctors or healthcare providers. So I just wanted to kind of broadly kind of go over it, and maybe I'll make a post on the 9 grid. We've given it to a couple of our patients and it's been helpful, especially for like low back pain. I feel like that's really helpful because you can't even see the area of your back. So do like the picture and stuff. It's been helpful. But yeah, anyways, there's that. Let me know if you have any questions.